start doing some introductions and hit her. Ramsey, I would ask you this button right here. You can hit that on yours. On yours. The white one with the black dot.
Right, hold on.
Okay.
Nice work.
We get the cameras going. All right. Today on the voice. Oh, sorry. That's good. You got him. Should have paused there.
Cut!
Only way to do the slap, right? Because we have two different.
Yeah.
There, we got that in there. Okay, here we go. Today on the Voice of the Duck Hunter podcast, we're sitting down with a group of fellow waterfowl podcasters to tackle a topic that affects every hunter: how we treat each other in the field. Each of us will be releasing this conversation on our own platforms, and together we're digging into the ethics of hunter-to-hunter interactions. Guys, welcome to the Voice of the Duck Hunter podcast.
Good to be here.
Yeah, at the expo. How's the expo going?
Fantastic.
Nice and cool inside.
Nice and cool inside. Sticky outside.
It's not bad outside. Where we've been at. Pretty dang nice.
Yeah.
Right.
So you guys, each of you represents your own podcast or maybe a team of podcasters. What do you guys, now Ramsey, I know you have your outfitter business
Yep.
that you have
That's right.
here. Why don't you other guys? I'll kind of go around the horn here, maybe give an introduction one at a time. Ramsey, why don't you give a quick introduction to, if anybody doesn't know who you are, why don't you give us
Founder operator, getducks.com, and we host a podcast, Duck Season Somewhere, and we just take the conversation to a while.
You rehearsed that.
Huh?
You rehearsed
No,
that.
I just thought it off.
Crinkle up your notes, yeah.
I get lucky every now and then.
There you go. John Sandbeck, how you doing?
I'm good, rocking the free world.
Rocking the free world.
Yep.
I love that filthy spoon. Yeah.
Pretty
Hey,
cool
they're
day.
the other kind of fun.
Pretty cool day. Yeah, I run the Filthy Spoon podcast. I'm work on a rice cattle and hay farm, and we just do this for fun. It's been bigger than we ever thought. And we just love where we live in Northern California, and we like being part of our community. That's why we started doing it. We have a blast with it.
Do you like hunting smiling mountains?
Yeah, well, if you go home with a lot of empty straps, you're going to shoot a spoon in the rice in California. Yeah, we have a lot of days that's a little spoon heavy, but yeah.
Yeah, I tell you what, I like spoonies personally. I think they're one of the more beautiful birds out there, especially once they put on their breeding season plumage. They're
Yeah,
awfully
they look pretty good
attractive.
on California in general.
Yeah, and I think in North Dakota, grew up in Wisconsin, but I think at least in the north they taste good. But I hear the further south
The
you go,
rice
they
are not
go.
bad. If
Not
they
bad.
get in that marsh, that's a soon marsh down by the bay, yellow fat, not so much.
Shooting
Rice fats
shelters
really good.
Shooting shelters is like a lot of things that people do they don't talk about, but everybody does it.
Yeah.
You know, that just prove me otherwise. You know.
Well, clockwise around the table. Joey, okay, Vasila.
Vasala.
Vasila, dang it.
No, it's okay.
I gotta do this. Midwest Flyways. Tell us a little bit about you.
Started Midwest Flyways 10 years ago as a YouTube channel and social media platform, and the whole reason why we started it was to educate people and to carry the traditions of waterfowl onto the next generation. So, see that it's like downturning, and so we want to spark that fire in people again and not make it as intimidating for people to get into the sport. And it's kind of coaching.
Yeah, I mean, unbox that a little bit. Were you experiencing things in your life? Like, were you noticing the challenges of new hunters? Or what
Yeah,
got
I
you?
mean, I was lucky enough to grow up doing it with my dad and all of his friends, and all of his friends were phenomenal duck and goose hunters. They grew up hunting with Tim Grounds back in the day, and they're world champion duck and goose callers. And then as I got older, none of my friends duck hunted. And my dad stopped duck hunting when he was about 14, so I was still going before school every day in our backyard. And then, stopped one day, got back into it, and I started introducing all my friends to it. And I was taking about 30 to 45 new people hunting a year for about 5 years. And just the fact that nobody knows what's going on unless you were raised in it, so I just saw that as an opportunity. And everyone's like, well, I'd love to get into it, but it just seems really difficult to get into. You need to spend $1,000 on a shotgun, $5,000 on a boat. Waders are expensive, blah blah blah. So just kind of teaching people how to get by in the beginning and what actually matters, how to scout ducks, how to call, all that stuff.
Yeah, good for you. That's awesome. That's really good. Jeff Stanfield, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here. I'm Jeff Stanfield. I own Stanfield Hunting Outfitters in Knox City, Texas. I've been in the waterfowl business for 35 years. Started this in college. I've never grown up. I've never really had a real job. I am a retired judge in Texas, so I guess that was a real job. But we started the Big Honker podcast in 2018. My oldest son, Ian, is my co-host. It's his idea. And everybody else has really good reasons to be here, you know, giving back and stuff. And we did it because Andy thought it was a good idea and it was a great platform for our business. And it just kind of morphed into something I wasn't expecting. I never expected it to do what it has done. It's been great for us. And we don't do just waterfowl hunting. We talk about everything. We talk about everything, politics, sports. But I love waterfowling. I fell in love with it when I was a little kid. I was fortunate. My dad was a fireman in Wichita Falls, and he took me and my brother and drug us along hunting when I was a kid growing up. And I was experienced a lot of cool things. My dad trained dogs, so I've been with some great field trial champions and field champions and national field champions in the 80s and 90s. So I was around a lot of those good dogs. I've been around a lot of good people, and it's been good for my life having a podcast. So
That's great.
It turned out to be a great thing for us. So I'm very blessed, and appreciate being in here. Very honored to be in this room.
Well, welcome. So the Big Honker. I don't think of honkers when I think of Texas.
Well, when we started 35 years ago, there was a lot of honkers in the area that I'm in Knox County, Texas. We used to winter about 30,000 big geese, and before the big geese got so acclimated to being cities, we did 35 years ago, we didn't see big geese in towns everywhere. And the geese came to our area, and our lodge is called the Big Honker Lodge. It was right where we are on the Brazos River, and we used to get a bunch of big geese. And so I named it the Big Honker Lodge, and we haven't shot a Big Honker in years there now. We don't have the big geese. But that's the Big Honker Lodge, and we named it the Big Honker Podcast.
That's a good name. Catchy.
Thank you.
Billy Campbell, how you doing?
Doing well.
Yeah?
Yeah, having a great show. Very thankful to be here with these fellas. And we host the Dr. Double Waterfowl podcast, Chris out of YouTube. And it's great hearing how you guys got started with the podcast stuff. We had done the YouTube, like Joey, we had kind of started the YouTube stuff first. And our mission really, we talk a lot about enjoying the journey and us as this very small number of waterfowlers that really exist, how important it is that we operate as if we're on the same team. And a lot of folks that watched the video wanted a little more, and so that's kind of where the podcast came for us. And kind of the same thing as Joey's offering up. We do more kind of tips. Dennis and I have been waterfowl hunting together. Neither one of us did as a kid. We got into it later in life, in our 20s. We got into it together and didn't have anyone. Even though I grew up in Arkansas, my dad would rather hunt a squirrel. He didn't care about chasing rabbits. So Dennis and I learned to do it together. We didn't have a dad or granddad that mentored us, and we realized how hard it was to overcome some of those early challenges. And in today's world, a lot less people have mentors in that capacity as well, just like you were born. And so we wanted to just provide an avenue that we do it. Dennis and I, that's all, the majority of what we do is all public ground. And so we try to provide as much information that may help someone else be successful. And quite frankly, we take a pretty good amount of heat for doing that. I don't know why that is, but if you want to see something right, but we've enjoyed it, and we've built some great relationships, and we get a positive response from that, and we'll continue to do that moving forward.
That sounds good.
Good time.
Well, I guess for the listener who doesn't know me, my name's Joel Bryce. I host Delta Waterfowl, the voice of the Duck Hunt podcast. That's my side gig, kind of my little passion project at Delta, but otherwise I'm Chief Conservation Officer at Delta. And I think the biggest thing people think, is that a game warden? I said, no, it's not a game warden. I'm a wildlife biologist. So that's what I do for Delta, and I really appreciate having you guys on here. Billy, you reached out to me and others a few weeks ago.
Yes, sir.
A month ago maybe.
Yeah.
I said, hey, I have this concern, and I should hesitate to put words in your mouth, or maybe I should just let you put words in. Why don't you put your words in your own mouth?
You're probably. I don't mind you putting words. Yeah, I mean, you can roll with it.
Why don't you put some words in your mouth then?
You're good. I mean,
Yeah. But yeah, no, the thought was, and I want to say this. I'm gonna say one word, and it makes me squeamish, and it's ethics. Like you say ethics, all of a sudden you're judging, you're preachy, you're kind of pushing on someone else's freedoms and world, but I do think that as hunters, no matter where you are, I've hunted, the United States, Canada, spent some time in Australia, and I do think that there's kind of a universal language or behavior of hunters, and I think, I don't know what it is, Billy, if it's been social media, outdoor TV, hunting is maybe more accessible to the public, but there's maybe some types of behaviors that I think we're maybe going to suggest people should consider making different choices. But a lot of things too, and Joey, I kind of want to, you made me think of something that I think a lot of new hunters, if they've gone out and learned on their own, which I'm running into on a daily basis, more and more people who taught themselves to hunt, they don't know at all. They're trying and they're learning to do things. So we kind of wanted to get the six of us here on this and have a conversation about maybe just planting seeds in people's minds. You still make your own choices, you still do your own thing, but just to maybe have some discussions. And I think what I wanted, there's a couple quotes here, and Theodore Roosevelt, the best thing you can do is the right thing. Elder Leopold, somebody that I looked up to, at least intellectually, is, he introduced the concept of doing the right thing when no one was watching. I think that's a word that pops up. The other one too is that just because something is legal might not mean it's ethical. And maybe I kind of would feel better if I found a word other than ethics, and I'm not sure. Anybody have a word better than ethics that they would pop up there?
It's a pretty good word.
Okay, well, we'll stick with that one. For sure, and I think there's maybe a couple conversations that I kind of like us to have, is that there is, if we're looking inside the hunting community, there's ways that we should be treating each other, but I do want to open up the mind to public perception as well. We obviously have dedicated a big chunk of our lives to waterfowl hunting, other forms of hunting. I've done a lot of different things, but I'm going to tell you this, the future of hunting honestly lies in those who don't hunt. We are, as hunters, are outnumbered 300 to 1, if you look at it. I think it's 5 or 6% of the U.S. population are licensed hunters. So literally, the behaviors that we exhibit are probably under a microscope of those who do not hunt, and they're the ones that are going to, unfortunately, I think, this is my views, they're the ones that are going to decide whether we get to hunt in the future, that future generations get to hunt or not. So, I don't know. Does that spur any thoughts of any of you guys? Jeff, do you got some thoughts here?
I think as a hunter, being in the hunting business, and it has nothing to do with the hunting business, but just a hunter in general, and my grandkids get to hunt one day, we're going to have to win at the ballot box as much as we are anywhere else to keep those freedoms. And I'm not turning this into a political conversation, but that's where we are at as a society.
Yeah.
We've got one side that's demonizing anything to do with a gun, whether it's hunting, whether it's protecting your own self. A police officer having a gun, they want us to turn into England. Police officers running their guns. And the hunters are the next people they want to fall. They want to get rid of us. And we don't help ourselves fighting amongst ourselves. I got a big education on waterfowl hunting this weekend, and I thought I knew a lot about waterfowl, or not this weekend, last weekend. I was in St. Louis, and I didn't realize how many flooded corn places there were up there. And it is miles and miles and miles of flooded corn crops. 170 miles continuous is what I was told. And that enlightened me from someone that had been in the hunt business for a long time. I thought I knew pretty much what was going on, and I did not see the scope of that. And it is a very select group of men and women that are wealthy, that have the means to do that. Those people's hunting rights are going to get infringed on, just like a poor guy who's trying to take his kid out. He's got a single shot shotgun and he has no money for equals because they're coming after everybody. And I thought about that when I was up there, and I was thinking, all the history that's here, it's all going to be gone in the next 30 to 40 years if we don't do something about it. And the best way for us to do it is to band together and fight against each other. Because someone said something earlier about brands. I've got sponsors that sponsor me, News has got sponsors that sponsor me, we all have sponsors and sponsors, and all do different things, but they're competing for the same dollar. What we need to do is start working together with some of the brands. As an outfitter, I have my main competitor is a very good friend of mine. We work together. We share land, we talk every day. He knows where I am, our kids. That way we don't have a problem in the morning. And I think a lot of what we do, if we could have the public guys do that, would be a lot better off. That's kind of my thoughts on it. I don't even know what I want to do about it, to be honest with you.
No, we're gonna frame that print it out and frame it. It was good stuff. That's right. Joey, you got something on your mind?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with social media. When I was really young, everyone would go to the diner and brag about what they shot that morning. And there is competition there at the diner, for sure. But it's even worse, more so now on social media, because it's turned into a look at me, if you don't shoot all green heads, you're trash. And everyone's just dogging on each other constantly. And so if you're from the outside of the hunting community looking at that, it looks gross.
Yeah.
It looks gross. And so we're not banded together, essentially. I mean, that's my big thing, is social media is so powerful, especially with young kids as they're coming up and the body shaming and all that. They feel terrible about themselves. Now picture a young kid who just went out and shot his first duck, and you have 40-year-old men going on this Facebook group saying, you don't even know what duck you shot, this is so dumb, you shouldn't even be hunting and whatever. Instead, people should be coming alongside that person, helping educate them, you know, but again, at the same time, it's the internet.
Yeah, you know, I think it's a tough thing. Like, I don't know. I guess maybe all played sports, but you know, sports were a big part of my upbringing, as was hunting. And so I think there's a competitive side to hunting that will always exist, and I'm certain when hunting was about survival, it was competitive as well, right? So I think we're not saying that at least I'm not saying that competition for a spot is, you know, that there's a certain amount of competition, but just the camaraderie, supporting each other. And I think just to further your point, Joey, is that, you know, when I was a kid, well, I guess when I was a kid, pre-internet? 52, is that pre-internet? I think that's pre-internet.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, probably. Shoot. But, you know, yeah, if I shot something and I told my friends, you know, I'd get a bunch of attaboys, and if somebody didn't like what I was doing, they didn't have access to it, right? But now look at these kids in today's world. They post something, they're excited. Maybe they went to a mentorship hunt and they're excited, and all of a sudden they get blasted by, you know, potentially thousands of people that they didn't, you know, didn't like what they were doing. So I think it's a lot tougher. So hunters should be supporting other hunters.
Joe, go back. You mentioned sport. What was your favorite sport?
Baseball.
Yeah,
Yeah.
win or lose, at the end of that baseball game back then, what happened?
Shook hands.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good game. GG. It's a good game,
Yep.
good game. I was a little high five down the line, whatever it was. Back in our day on the football field, both teams would come to the middle, shake hands. Look, you ain't happy about that tail work.
Yeah.
We just still shook hands and said good game. And I'm with you. I don't, Dennis and I, we like the competitive. You know, I could tell tons of stories, just, you know, sitting in the cot, waiting on the 4 a.m. green light, and the guy shows up at the last minute and says, not today, we hunt every day. You know, and I don't have a problem, I'm not mad at him about that, right? What happens at that point is, and I'm really still, the shaking hand thing is something Dennis talks about all the time. We had an instance last year. I could get carried away with that story, but my point is the shaking hands thing. It's just the way we treat each other. The competitiveness, I don't have a problem with competitiveness being a part of it. You know, public land, that's, everybody wants to get the best spot.
Yeah. No, I think that's just kind of the nature of it. Yeah.
But how we treat each other when we don't get that spot, and or we don't do as good as the guy. You know, if I don't get that spot, is the right thing for me to do slide 50 yards from you and try to cut them off?
I think that's
Short
what we're kind of
swing
talking about,
Right.
aren't we? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think there's more hunters today than there were back in the day? Because when I grew up in the 70s hunting with my dad, I don't remember. We hunted public. I grew up hunting public. I didn't grow up a kid that had private land and stuff. We had some places we could hunt, but we wasn't leasing nothing. But we didn't hear people shoot birds. I didn't grow up with people shooting stacks of 50s and 100s and pictures of it. And if they did, we wouldn't have known about it like we were saying on the
Right.
internet. But I don't think we had the hunters back then. You know, license calls me a liar on this. It says we had more hunters in 1976 than we had now.
That's right.
Well, in 1976 when I was hunting, I don't remember hearing a bunch of shooting and stuff.
See,
I think
I got a theory on this too. Yes, I believe, we're talking about mostly public land. based on federal duck stamp sales, 3 Americans out of 1,000 eating waterfowl
Today,
today. And my thoughts are is the year 2026 versus 1976 is that footprint of habitat we had to spread out in those days has dwindled and dwindled and dwindled. And in the context of public land, which it's almost like an embarrassment of riches because America has more public land than the rest of the world combined. Why are we stepping on each other? And it's because I believe I was at one of the meetings the other night with Delta Waterfowl. Y'all got this Restoring the Refuges program.
Yeah.
State and federal lands are $1 billion in the hole. The boundaries of those WMAs and those federal refuges are the same as they were back in the 70s when they were established. But because of a lack of funding, lack of a million different reasons, now the habitat within there, it dwindled down like a evaporated pool of water that we're all having to go to. That's where the ducks are going. And that gets to the heart of where we're at. But when we start talking, we're talking about the ballot box. We're talking 3 out of 1,000 Americans eating a duck hunt. But the land and the ducks are held in private trust. That means 997 Americans also have a claim to those ducks and to those public lands. What happens when 997 people decide we don't want y'all hunting ducks anymore because of what we've seen on social media, to your point, George? We don't want you going on our public land.
3 people are in trouble.
Well, you know what? It's almost like if we 3 were unified, we could pile up in the Alamo and hold them for a minute. We've learned that. But we're not. For a lot of reasons that brought this conversation about. We're at each other's throats. And man, we need all 3 of us out of 1,000 to lock hands and say, we're gonna hold the fort on this. And boys, for a lot of reasons, like the other night at the dinner we were at, you know, for Delta Waterfowl to come out and talk about the $1 billion budget deficit state and federal lands and point the crowd and say, there ain't no, my words, not y'all's, there's no sugar daddy war bucks in the federal government that's going to write a check and get us out of this hole. It's going to fall on those 3 out of 1,000 Americans to get us out of where we're at right now. The federal government ain't going to do it. The state governments aren't going to do it. They want to, but they can't. And so I just think that the reason we're hearing so much and we've got so much more hunter conflict on the landscape is because, man, we're not hunting a vast wilderness anymore. We're all down where the ducks are now.
Yeah,
The last domain and habitat. That's my thought.
Our habitat's gone away too, up north.
Yeah.
It's really, I'm sorry, it's just, it's diminished so much. We have so many, Minnesota has the most public land per capita in the United States, which blew my mind. And we have so many little wetlands and potholes. But after a while, they dry up with the droughts and a severe amount of drain time in Minnesota. So when you take away all those little potholes, now the ducks congregate. There is way more pressure on these areas where the birds are going, and now everybody's stepping on each other's toes.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think a couple things there. I remember my dad. So I grew up in Wisconsin. So I remember driving through Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and my dad points over. We're a mile into the city, and he says, "I used to hunt over there." And I was just like, "Yes, Dad. There's no way." You know, the city had grown so much, and he had lost hunting property. And in my lifetime, I've experienced a lot of that. You know, I used to hunt there, and I'm watching right now. I live out of town, and I'm seeing a development pop up into one of my favorite goose fields. So there's a loss of access. So now, I also think, you know, Jeff, I do believe in the hunter numbers. That I do believe that they've declined, and I do believe that they were as large as they once were. But I think a couple things. I feel like hunters have become more avid. They're more confined, and I think it's tougher to have a secret spot, you know, with Onyx, Go Hunt, all the things like that. Also, you know, basically confining hunters to smaller public lands or smaller hunting lands. So I think the felt competition is through the roof compared to the way it was in the decades ago.
well, I think that hunter numbers there were more hunters in 1976 because it was socially accepted to hunt. So if you sat at an office and 3 guys in your office bought duck stamps and stuff, you bought a duck stamp, you went hunting once or twice a year.
Yeah.
We've lost that guy. We either have people who are duck hunters or not.
That's right.
Dove hunting in Texas is a perfect example. We run a ton of dove hunters. Dove hunting is as popular now as it ever has been in Texas. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry goes on a dove hunt. their office does a hunt, they're not hunters, you know? Probably half the people that go dove hunting in Texas go hunting September 1st or the first weekend, and they don't pick up a shotgun ever again. Or back in the 70s, that guy might like go hunting 3 times a year. It was more socially accepted to hunt. Today, the guy we have is a better hunter. First of all, hunters are better today than they were in the 70s.
Better gear.
Better gear. We have easier access to anything. The mud motor, how much has that changed? You know, ducks don't have nowhere to rest anymore.
Right.
There's 0 places to rest. There's no secrets. Even 15 years ago, I could go run. We started hunting in Oklahoma. We went through droughts from 11 and 12. We moved to Oklahoma and started running the Waterfowl. Place to go. But anyways, there wasn't nobody hunting out there. I was the first outfitter up there. We hunted for 2 years without anybody else out there. I could let field set. I could have a goose head that would set for 3 days because I called a hunter and get it arranged for it. There's nobody else doing it. Now, if a bird lands in a field up there, there's still trucks circling around it. And those birds might not even want to feed there. They just might be pushed there because someone's let the field they want to be in.
Yeah.
That's the way it is down the whole flyways. Every flyway is the same. There's no surprises. They see the same decoy spread from East River, Alberta, all the way to South Texas and Mexico. It's the same stuff everywhere you go. So I think that the pressure on the birds is worse. I think our bird numbers are way down. I think we have very much disrespect between hunters. And everybody's interested in just trying to get rid of the cow as they can.
Yeah. John, you're probably not a quiet guy, but you've been quiet on this podcast so far. Let's give you a chance. Now, I'm real curious about your view. You're from California.
Northern California.
Yep.
California.
He's a good guy, though. I hope that
Oh, yeah, good guy, yeah. My view of
You're not a
California.
quiet guy, right? I'm
Yeah.
a run set. Great guys right now.
Yeah, my view of California as a state, it's beautiful, but politically, again, not to turn into politics, but what is it like being a duck hunter in a state like California? Because we're first talking about, perception amongst the public.
Oh yeah, like I get a lot here. I'm California people. Sometimes I have to show people my driver's license to prove I'm actually from California. Northern California is a very beautiful place. There's lots of hunting opportunities. We're rice rats, right? We lease rice. We have a co-op, a couple of our buddies that call it the Filthy 14, and we lease 4 or 5 different rice lines and we move around and hunt wherever we want. We also do a little bit of public land hunting too. The public land hunting in California, as Ramsey knows, who's done it, pretty competitive. And Tule ninjas out there are slick. In and out,
Say
it's all
Tule
public.
ninjas.
That's what we
Ninjas,
call
yeah, I like
Tule
that, yeah.
ninjas, yeah. And so sometimes there's a sign blinds at the place where, okay, this is your pond. Other times it's free roam. A lot of experienced guys know what they're doing, like the free roam, you can go where you want. But like you're saying, this disrespect, and I swear a lot of it is just that people don't know they're doing it. If you go up to a refuge, let's say Gray Lodge, one of the biggest refuges in California, beautiful place right in the Butte Sink, the Jewel of the Pacific they call it. It is a mess every morning. There's hundreds of hunters there, and I don't know the percentage. A lot of these guys are just big guys, have no idea what they're doing. They're young kids, right? Because a lot of guys, when you get a little money, you go try to hunt private. A lot of good public guys will take their hammer and they do good. A lot of it is just not knowing, like, I'm setting up too close to this guy, right? I swear it's just, they're naive, right? So I always try to educate people. There's a guy out there, his name's Hammer, they call him Bear Buddy with Gray Lodge. He's been hunting that refuge, which is like a war zone since 1968 on purpose. He can go rent rice if you want to. He does this, and he gets in that right after the 60s, and he's racing the kids out there to the spot. Every weekend and Wednesday, he's out there doing it. And I talked to him quite a few times. He said one of the number one problems he's seen when he started out there, his dad took him out there. All these new kids, and it's a good thing, adult onset hunters, they're learning how to hunt off the Instagram machine and YouTube, and they didn't have their dad saying, hey, don't work, they're working, don't shoot this for me, just let them work. And it's not, they're just so excited they want to do it, but they don't realize it's not really the right thing to do. If this guy's working a man, let the guy work his birds. And I think a lot of it's just not.
You know who could fix this? Well, the guy that could fix it just died, Phil Robertson.
Yeah.
But I catch so much credit because I'm a pro with Phil Robertson. And I catch it from other people. Oh, he ruined the waterfowl. He's got all these kids. He got kids into hunting, and we needed that. We need Jace to step up and say, and I'm not calling out Jace personally, I'm just saying, we need somebody like Jace that can do it with their platform they have, and say, hey, guys, this is what you need to work on. You need to work on having some etiquette. Be thoughtful of your neighborhood. Pick your holes up, you know?
Yeah.
Pick up your trash. Leave it better than you find it. If you find a gate open, leave it open. If you find it closed, close it. Simple common sense things that we learn from our dads, that these kids don't have dads. But someone like Phil, with his platform, got all those kids involved, someone like that could really go a long way with this, because those guys are listening. Because the flat-billed kids have got a bad rap. It ain't just them, it's the older guy that's going to hunt that doesn't have any respect. Because we've lost respect in our country in everything we do. And the hunting deal, the country kid used to be the last kid, work ethic and respect, and we don't have that as much as we used to anymore. So we need someone that's got a social media influence to help push this message about using respect and manners while you're hunting.
Yeah, I think, it's kind of funny. There's quite a few states, and a growing number of states, that have actually passed the right to hunt and fish legislation. But I think it's really important to view hunting as a privilege and not a right. And I think if we looked at it as a privilege, to get to go hunting, that I do think that it would change your perspective about how you approach other hunters and go out there and hunt. Ramsey, I did want to. You are the most traveled hunter. Maybe I should just stop there. Maybe you're just the most traveled hunter. I was going to say the most traveled hunter I know. But I think one of the things that I like having chats with you about is you can draw in perspectives from other parts of the world that we can learn from. Now, you and I have mutual friends in Australia, and I look and I think Australia could be the United States 20 years into the future, because their animal rights movement is a lot stronger. When I was over there for a few weeks, as you know, came back and said, you know what? Every element in Australia we have in the United States is just not as active. It's not as entrenched. So we need to learn from that rather than wait for the next 20 years to come. Are there any lessons, like from hunters to the public, that come to mind from your travels that might be, words of caution for all this?
We're blessed beyond measure here in America. We have got so much public land, and they do have a lot of public land per capita. For duck hunting capital, especially there in Australia. I can't draw a contrast of a lesson learned. I keep going back to my Alamo motto. We've got to be united. We've got to be politically active, but we've got to form a front. We've got to form a unified front in the, because right now, take Oregon.
Yeah.
I mean, Oregon, to me, Oregon's a whole lot scarier than Australia.
Yeah.
Because that's right here on American soil. And they're death by 1,000 cuts, these anti-dogs. You know what I'm saying? And here we are preaching to the choir. We've got to pull out and pull some support out of this 997 of the public trust folk that own this public land too, that don't hunt. We've got to garner some of their support. To Jeff's point, picking up after ourselves, leaving it better than we found it. You know what I'm saying? We've got to start investing our time and our money into public land.
Yeah.
We've got to be. What a great PR stunt. Man, they're leaving this place better. They're leaving it better than they found it. Oh, the federal government can't rebuild those levees or rebuild those pumps to do stuff or pick up the boat ramps. And these hunters are coming in, rolling up their sleeves and getting it done for all of our people. That to me is the lesson. Because I mean, golly, man, it's like we got to put the pedal to the metal and come out swinging. Really protect what we've got left, or it's going to vanish. I mean, these anti-dogs are slipping around like a carbon monoxide sheet. Legislatively trying to take advantage of the fact that we don't.
What do you see with you travel? You go more than anybody I know. You've talked about this 1,000 times, just like you said. Ramsey's the most interesting guy in the Waterfowl world. When you go to other places, like Morocco, as you told me you been in Morocco.
Not yet. That's one of the places I want to go. But if you go anywhere else, take the UK, which man, I mean, it's way off in the future of us. And they've got this thin little margin, so many feet away from shore, and no further. That's public land. That's it. Everything else is private.
Not just the public, though, just the guys willing to go buy a license and hunt.
Very
We
true.
take that for granted.
You better believe
You
we
told
do.
me about China, in China, right?
China, yeah, there's five firearm owners out of billions of people that can hunt, and they can't hunt over there. They come elsewhere. There's no hunting in China. Are you kidding? They've got 3 billion starving people. You know what I'm saying? That eat everything they can
Jeez.
you know, and there's so many places in the world I've been. I think they're either closed or they're gonna close. I mean, right now, one of the greatest hunts on earth, Argentina, that is like a habitat back in the mid 1800s, because most of the people live in the city, and they are teetering. I mean, they are fighting tooth and nail because the anti-hunter. Most people don't care about hunting for. And the people that care about hunting are like, holy cow, we're having to fight tooth and nail to hold this form. In Argentina, this blessed beyond blessed.
Yeah.
You know, one of the provinces, one of those areas province, one of 6 provinces you can hunt ducks in down there, counted something like, the counted 62 million ducks in this one province. Well, it's kind of hard to close it when you got 62 million ducks. Now what do we do? So they start legislating them over doing something else. Their food with it. It's alive and well right here in America. And I'm saying, man, everybody out there hunting, well, we've got to fan tight together.
And those people are starving to death down there. Where
And
if
there's
you,
parts of the world they're starving.
right, and you go back to America in the early 1800s, and a guy would go out, we go back to 1940s or 50s.
Yeah.
A guy went out and shot 3 ducks. He wasn't going to shoot 30, he was going to shoot 3 ducks. His wife was going to cook 3 ducks that night for dinner.
That's
And
right.
if he went back out the next day and he caught 2 fish, they would eat 2 fish.
That's exactly
The guy
right.
wasn't storing 100 ducks to freedom.
That's exactly right.
But we have put ourselves in a hole if it's just free. We need more people to hunt, more kids.
We need more people to hunt, and you know, you're making a thing about the young guy that we've all talked about, the young guy that's teaching himself, and then comes the old guy criticizing because you should have known that was a hen gad law. You know, before you shot it, what do I do with a dove, right? Some of these states are developing splash limits for that very reason. Why doesn't that 40-year-old, that older guy that knows more, reach out and mentor this guy? Because you know what?
Right.
Kick that guy in the shins hard enough, he's gonna quit hunting at a time that we need
Oh,
to
yeah.
get more hunters.
Right now, it doesn't even take a kick to the shin to
Yeah.
get him to quit. Because you have so many people coming at that guy.
How
So he's
much
gonna go,
conflict do you
"I'm
have to
done."
have in a public program before you just yell cutthroat and go start playing golf or fishing or doing something else? We need to keep those 3. We need more people. We need to recruit those kids and get those people into this sport.
We got so many soft people in our society too, and you got to cow to them now. We used to not have to do that. People don't know how to hear no. They don't know how to take criticism. I'm not taking it for the old man, 'cause the old man's wrong. He's trying to run the kid off because he's pissing on that guy's. You know, the kid's pissing on his area.
Yeah.
He don't want him there. He wants to hunt on his own. But we also need kids and people. We need to teach young men to be young men again.
That's right.
Stand up for yourself a little bit. Have a backbone. Ask for some help. It's not hard to ask for directions. You know, everybody relies on this all the time.
That's right.
I don't know where we're going to go forward. I know that we've got to get more kids, and I do kids. I hunt a lot of kids, and man, when I had a dad come in my lodge and he's got his boys with him or his daughter, I see a lot more girls. That's what I've noticed in the last 15 years. A lot more
Noticed that
people of
too.
color and a lot more women hunt. A long time ago, that was things you didn't see a lot of names. It's very common now, and we need that. But when I see a dad come in with his 2 boys, it makes me so proud. I give every kid that hunts with me, I give him a cap or I give him a call. I do something. Hopefully that he'll want to come back with dad again.
Yeah.
Because I see so many dads that you got any kids? Yeah, I got 15 girls. See, hunt, oh, he's busy with soccer or video games. You don't know what I don't understand.
I got 2 young kids and a 3rd one coming in 2 weeks. And my favorite thing growing up was going on a hunting trip with my dad. He started taking me out every 1.5 years. And everyone, doesn't believe it. They're like, oh, your dad wasn't taking me every weekend. He absolutely was. And that's a lot of strain on the dad, right? You have to.
You're not hunting and enjoying it yourself.
Say that again?
You're not enjoying it yourself when you're with a 1.5-year-old kid.
Right.
You're there for the
You're
kid.
tending there for the
Right.
kid.
Yeah,
You're trying to get that kid into it, you know? And so with our YouTube channel, I've been dying to get my kids out hunting. I've taken my daughter out hunting since she was 6 months old in spouts, right, in spurts. And now she's watched me clean hundreds of birds, loves it, obsessed with it. So now this is the year. I'm gonna get her on YouTube, but I kind of feel weird about that, putting your kid's face on on the internet, all that jazz, but I want to spark other dads to not be worried about getting their kids out hunting, because it is a pain in the butt. You have to not only think about yourself and everyone else that you're hunting for, or you're hunting with, but now you have to pack that many extra snacks,
Oh, yeah.
all that other jazz. And I'm a light packer as a hunter already, so that's straight on me. If there are books, toys, don't bring an iPad, please. You know, but I think that's how a lot of people are falling off on hunting too. As you get older and you get busier with life, you don't want to add more stress to your plate. But in reality, you're just giving your child a new life, like a new hobby.
There's a lot of states that kids can't even hunt, because I have guys call me, well, how old are kids can they hunt there? We're in Texas. The kid's 1.5, he can hunt with you. You shoot his limit, and be a little protected.
Right.
Explaining that,
Yeah.
but you could hunt. But I have guys that hunt, call me from other states, are like, he can't hunt until he's 12, and he has to have a hunter safety course. I think hunter safety course is great, but I think hunting with your dad before you're 12 years old. I know I did. Me and my brother hunted with my dad all the time growing up. We need more of that too.
You better believe
And I think they need to incentivize the license. Maybe that you can buy a family hunting license where a dad can take his kids. It don't cost him an extra ton to go. You know, Texas, a youth license is $6. You can shoot 5 deer, waterfowl, you can do everything with it. Our out-of-state license, guess how much it is? $6.
Nice. I love that.
Wow, that's a great thing. Not very many states have that. But I have guys will call me, and that's another thing. Well, how much is that out-of-state license? Well, Texas is 5 days, $48 for small thing, which is cheap by standards.
Sure is.
And then they'll be like, well, my kid's another 48. No, your kid's 6. We need more states to incentivize that. Sell a family hunt license. Sell a family hunting license package both. You know, we don't need to keep the game wardens. And they're doing their job, but we don't need to keep people from hunting, fishing, and doing it.
Yeah.
Make it easier for them. And another thing, the waterfowl license is a pain in the butt in Oklahoma. You got to buy this package and this and that. Just sell a waterfowl package. It comes with the state stamp. You can have an option to do the federal stamp if you haven't done it somewhere else. We can buy that one license.
Yeah. Yeah. I think when you guys are talking about getting kids into hunting, I of course believe in that. You know, at Delta we have a big hunter recruitment program, but Billy, one thing this kind of reminded me of was when I was in college, one summer I worked as a park ranger. So it was the park had a campground component to it. And I remember vividly, I'm this kind of chill 18, 19, 20-year-old, no responsibilities, just making some money to go back to college. And I remember on Fridays there would be a line of families with their campers just waiting to get into that campground. They were so stressed out. The dad would come in particular it was the dad. He's losing his mind. He is in such a hurry to have a good time that veins are popping out. He's ready to punch somebody, and I'm like, I think your kid really wants to go camping with you again after that. And so I'm starting to think of some of these hunter interactions that we're talking about. And so Joey, you should bring your kids out into the field. My kids, both of my kids, son and daughter, they hunted with me since 3. They're 19-year-old and 16-year-old now, and they hunt a lot. I feel like I did it right, but I think some of those, you know, as we're bringing kids into the field, I think we need to be a little bit more aware of some of that courtesy between hunters, because believe it or not, we're all mentors to somebody, right? Even if you don't even know who they are, you might be exhibiting a modeling behavior that is having an impression on whether that kid goes hunting or not.
Right. Yeah, it's brutal. I've taken friends out for their first time, and there's a discrepancy, not at the boat ramp, but on public ground, and some guy starts yelling at you, and starts threatening you, whatever. He's gonna mess up your decoys, whatever it is, because you beat him by 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And then he wants to set up 50 yards from you, shooting at your birds, whatever. It's happened 3 times to me now. And all 3 of those people that it happened with me on, they're like, I'm never doing this again.
Yeah.
That was this is so uncomfortable. I don't like it.
Yeah.
And it makes me really sad.
There was I know y'all saw that fist fight somewhere on public land. Two guys surrounded by a mob of folk in belt deep water having a fist fight.
Oh yeah.
And it was heartbreaking because that guy got beat, but at the same time that they're having a fight like that, that's what was so heartbreaking. That they're having a fight for a place to hunt.
At least they didn't shoot each other. That was that much at least.
Yeah, they had some restraint, right?
Yeah, because in today's world, it's like, I can't nobody take a fight no more. Maybe they'll shoot somebody.
Yeah, I would start taking up golf, or I got to go fight somebody.
I seen a good fight on a golf course one time too, so. There's a little bit of money
You're
involved.
leaning in on that microphone.
No, all of you, I mean, everybody's making great points on this, and so you're the blood pressure going to that gentleman waiting on that line, the same thing with public ramp. You know, we talk often about the journey. I had a gentleman come out, this is a great show. And a lot of people want to ask first, well, how much business you're doing in booths and this and that. The great thing about the show is the opportunity that we're taking, and other people are taking when they come to this event, to share time and stories. And right before this event, I had a guy come out there, he's from Wisconsin, he's telling me about this mud hole in mine. It's about 4 inches of water, but you're up to your chest in mud. Everybody at this table is not at that spot, right? And he took a guy for the first time. And he got out there and he's in hip boots, and he loses both hip boots. And then he starts rolling himself, trying to roll himself back to the bank. And he's just stuck, and he gets up and he's just, at this point, he's laughing. And so, my point is, this guy comes by and tells me a duck hunting story, and that's what I'm just talking about. It ain't nothing about, everybody wants to shoot birds. But this journey that we're so fortunate to take as often as we do, whether it's with the kids, my kids used to sit and pluck every feather out of every duck that was shot if they were lucky enough to shoot a duck. That story that gentleman shared with me didn't have any, he couldn't even remember if they shot, how many ducks they shot that day. Mm-hmm. You know, there are all kind of stories and memories that you're going to make with the people you share this time with. Sometimes those people may be people you run into at that boat ramp. And if we're operating with that high blood pressure that you mentioned, it usually doesn't work out as well, right?
No.
There's a lot more to this journey than just the harvest of that day. Preparation, the trip. For me, I love calling ducks, right? As the older I get, there's something about those 2, 3, 4 a.m. boat rides. It's just, I don't know, there's something very special about that. This journey is big. There's not enough time. We're not here that long.
Right.
To be treating each other. And Jeff, you make a great point, but to your point, it's kind of the purpose of this conversation. I'm tired of waiting on somebody to try and fix this. And I think that great people like you, with the platforms that you all have, come together to have this conversation is where it starts. And I think that there's so many different things going on, right? Ramsey, when I listen, you're so knowledgeable in the sport, but when I listen to you, I got a pea brain, bro. I'm not a smart guy, and I start getting overwhelmed, right? And I'm thinking, holy cow, there's a lot of things, and I couldn't imagine being you or any of the fine people that work with Delta Waterfowl, all the issues that you guys deal with. Maybe there's one thing, right? And maybe it's not something that we do, maybe it's something that we don't do. You mentioned the internet, and I think the internet is a great tool. Social media, I think it's a great tool. And you made some great points. It can be a treacherous area, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to sit here and get into why or how, but when I grew up, there was pretty much a cardinal rule, which is if you ain't got nothing good to say, keep your mouth shut. And when I grew up, if you didn't keep your mouth shut, you was liable to get no knuckle shuffle with, and you better be ready for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Somebody gonna throw both. Now with these computer screens and that, people have gotten away with saying whatever they feel like they want to say today. And I'm not saying one side or the other. You see something posted, whether it's Fox or CNN, politically. How many times you hear the word climate? Look at this climate, because of his perspective. So I'm just coming up with this while I'm listening to you guys talk. Maybe it's not something we do, but it's something we don't do. And your fantastic point about, the criticism that we can be more supportive of each other for sure, but maybe it just starts with us not being rude.
Yeah, it's more about what we don't do than maybe
I
what
do
we
this
do.
all the time, like be nice to each other.
Right.
If you go to a refuge at 4 o'clock in the morning in California, it's like walking into a prison yard. Everybody's standing there, they're not smiling, I always start cracking jokes, try to get people to listen up.
Yeah.
Just like, come just be nice to you. We're all out here doing the same thing, we're all here to have fun. And it's just funny. Sometimes when people start loosening up, a lot of people are just scared, they don't know how to act. It's just funny. And now that I'm getting older, I kind of realize it. Before I thought they were jerks.
Yeah.
They just don't know.
You don't know.
I just try to be nice to everyone. Anywhere I go, I try to be nice.
We all do that, right? I'm sorry.
It's just so widespread. We do a public hunter series. No matter what state we talk to someone from, it's the same thing everywhere you go. People that don't hunt public do not realize how much competition is in the same place. They also don't realize how morally corrupt a lot of people are. When it just comes to being nice. I mean, like you said, being nice to someone. Be respectful. It's not hard. I always ask him, have you ever asked anybody to hunt with you? One of my good friends, one of his best buddies he met on the hunt. Pulls up to a place and during the week nobody else ever hunts at, and there's a boat sitting there. He's like, who the heck's at my place? And this guy don't know what he's doing. He's got a boat there just sitting there, he's sitting in the boat, got 6 decoys around him, and my buddy's like, hey, are you by yourself? Yeah, why don't you hunt with me? And he said, I'll show you how to, they've done a blind and showed him how to shoot ducks and kill ducks. He never killed ducks on his own. Very successful. Their best friends now. 25 years ago.
Yep.
Because they
Everybody
met.
from the parking lot.
Yep.
Hey, why don't we just hunt together?
Mate,
Hey, get on my road and come to me.
Yeah.
Works out great.
You gotta worry about him shooting you swing.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. It's
Right.
usually not about being that. It's like, hey, if he's gonna
But
mess
it's
up
a
my
twofer.
hunt, but that's right. But you
It's
can
a
learn.
twofer.
You can learn. Kill two
You
birds
put 'em
with
in
one
the right
stone.
spot. You know, the only part that I worry about, and I can't get over it, is, you know, I've hunted with some lifelong hunters that are incredibly safe, and I've hunted with some lifelong hunters that are scared the hell out of it. And that's my only concern. It's like, yeah, there's room for 2-3 groups in here, and I do it, but I have to admit, it makes me nervous. But anyway, I'm supposed to be showing optimism, not pessimism, right?
Right.
I did want to. I do think it's important. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but we've been talking a lot about theory, right? And I think there's some really simple behaviors out in the duck marsh that I think, like you're saying, maybe a hunter didn't realize they were doing it, but maybe he did. But would you guys feel comfortable just kind of sharing some solutions, like some of the inner hunter behaviors that you guys have seen? What would be a remedy for some of those?
I'd say a big one, especially for veteran hunters, we kind of get stuck in our ways, and we know the unwritten rules, right? Like, don't set up too close to me. It's not about what happens to you, it's how you deal with it, right? Because if you just start cussing someone out at 4 a.m., it's going to go bad, you know? And it's just like a normal life rule. Like, it's not what happens to you, it's how you deal with it. That's like my biggest thing, and it will de-escalate so many situations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John, how about you? Are there certain types of behaviors, particularly on public land, that you think
Yeah,
could use some
like I say,
education?
I've had people yell at me across the marsh. I do mostly private now, but I do early season on that rifle. And I've had people yelling at me or something, and I never yell back. I'll meet them in the parking lot, and like you said, de-escalate. Have a conversation man to man. I don't need to yell at you, you don't need to yell at me. You know, I'm sorry if you thought I did this, or you did this. Let's talk like men. We're all men out there, all of them.
Yeah.
Let's just, we can solve this. We're all trying to do the same thing and have fun. And I really like you're getting at, competition is great. There's guys out there that go to these refuges, and it's a race, right? You know, you get a number, who runs first, and oh man, he's beating it the whole day. And that's a good thing, right? But there's like a good rivalry competition, and then there's like you just want to do it so this guy don't have to come out. That's the wrong way to do it.
That's the wrong motivation.
Yeah, you want to be nice to each other.
Yeah.
I think one thing we started out there in the last 2 years, a company called Whack and Stack. They've been doing a duck boat culture is getting a lot bigger in California Delta. When it floods up where I live in New Sink, the guys would come up in that flood water and hunt on the duck boat. Kind of controversial thing. It's legal, but anyways, duck boats are bigger than they were no duck boats when I was a kid. You know, that kind of stuff. Well, these guys started this. We've been doing a couple every summer, a meetup. You're out there hanging out in the summer with your family, barbecuing on the river. So when you see this guy at 4 in the morning, the boat ramp, oh, I remember that guy from the rowboat meetup. And we've done it, like I said, I think we've done like 4 in the last 2 years. And it's really brought some people together. Some people are like, I've never seen that guy before, I thought he was a jerk. Now there are kids playing there.
Yeah.
And I really think in our little area of the world, it's really kind of brought the community together where people get to know each other, so you're not running into people with flashlights at 4 in the morning fighting for something. You know? I think that's been a big positive in our area.
Yeah, man.
That's cool.
Yeah. I think that's it. You know, you guys have done some stuff with each. public timber project, kind of same, I think, y'all, you had him on your podcast recently.
Oh, yeah.
Great guy, super dude, and kind of the same premise. Each is organized, boat ramp cleanup
Yeah.
situations at public ramp. But, and I'm not gonna try to put words in his mouth, but he, it's kind of the same deal, you know, if you meet someone doing something different, when you run into them in those situations, you tend to handle it a little differently.
And so many of the volunteers in public timber project you've got are
Yeah.
high school,
Yeah.
college age, young guys. And man, it's encouraging to see those guys give up their weekend.
Yeah.
They could be out doing anything else, picking up a boat.
Yeah.
Volunteering their time to pick up boat ramps, go cruise through WMAs and pick up trash, haul people trash out. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
It's a good thing. Yeah, I think, hulls, trash, different things like that. Maybe we could spend just a little bit more time on that competition. I think we've all so far agreed that, get to a spot faster than someone else. I don't know if that needs to change, but when you lose a spot, now the burden is on you to accept that. But I think there's other forms of competition that I run into others that are a little trickier. And if, Jeff, your point, I think it was you, Jeff, making that point, that if somebody wasn't taught by someone else, I see a few things like, if the spots are too close to each other and birds are working over, they're clearly working over somebody's decoys, but then they swing at 70 yards over someone else's in the sky box. Some of that competition kind of lives in the gray. Do you guys consider that competition, or do you think of that?
It's just
something.
You said we can't use bad words on here, so I'll skip.
I like watching people work birds, if they're doing a good job and they're calling good, I like watching it work, watch the show.
I can't remember what state, we've talked to a couple people from different states, and I can't remember states, but they're a draw on the blind in the public spot. And you can only hunt on spot X. And the state has 200 yards down there, they got another spot, and another 200 yards. I don't hunt publicly. I used to growing up, I don't anymore. I think that's a really good deal because it takes out a lot of that. Now, not every place is set up that way. But I think and I do not like the state being involved in governing anything. The less government we have, I think we're better
Well,
off.
they're pretty involved in that scenario.
Yes, they are. That's exactly right.
And I've done the last 4 years on advisory council for our state, Texas. And I had the opportunity to sit down with a couple guys who ran some of those draw only WMAs. There's one on the coast. It's a 2.5 hour drive from Houston. He has a capacity in there. This place is now draw only. He has a capacity for about 140 hunters. And you have to be there at 5 a.m. for the draw. Physically have to be there. And he'll take over 200 people every day, and the majority of them drive over 2 hours to try and get a chance to hunt.
Would it be easier to do a computer draw at midnight, 10 o'clock?
But my point is, so you're going to drive 2 hours, you're going to sit in line maybe for a chance, and then they're going to hand you a number. They're going to hand you a map. These folks that are doing this may not be able to navigate the woods, may or may not have a mentor that if, I don't know them personally, but they're getting handed a number, they're getting handed a map by the government, they're being told that we know there are ducks here, this is where you're going to hunt today, and that's if you want to hunt the 140 out of the 200 and something that got that spot. That's happening in my home state. For me, I remember going out, maybe it's after school one afternoon, and you take the kid on a boat ride, and you go look around, and then you take a walk because you think you may have seen some ducks get behind some trees. You go find some birds.
Right, you scout, you do your work.
You scout, you do your work. You go back when you're off of work or you have time, when you can go, and you get after those birds that you scouted to find. That to me was duck hunting. That's duck hunting at its most fundamental form, and that is going away by those situations. And I'm not saying that situation isn't easier. You're right.
There's just
it's
less,
a lot easier.
there's less debate and draw. There's less fights and stuff. There's not races, guys racing in boats $20. Does it take away the romance of hunting? Yes.
100%.
Yes.
100% I agree with you on all that, 100,000%. But I don't know the answer to what we can do to fix
The
that.
answer is
Because
us three guys. We gotta treat each other better. Really.
Right.
I mean, I don't want the government to come in here and tell me where, when, and how I can shoot birds.
No,
When I'm dealing with, I grew up in Arkansas. We own property in Arkansas. I'm only 2.5 hours, I'm not even 2.5 hours from Arkansas. I can't hunt there on where I like to hunt. Open in 2 weeks of the season. I can only stay 30 days. It's gonna cost me $700 to live. How many more regulations are they gonna be putting in place before we say, you know what, forget it? They've already got a sales tax law in place to help fund their conservation department. Ain't nobody else, these other 97 people that Mr. Russell mentioned, they're not gonna jump in and throw up their wild,
no, hunters pay for everything.
everything.
All the
On our own.
non-hunters, the
That's
canoers, granola crunchers, bunny hunters, we pay for all their stuff.
Yeah.
We do.
You're absolutely right.
You know, what I heard when you were talking about the 2.5-hour drive, 2-hour drive, get out there into that blind, what I heard is, you know, there's some folks that fits their world. They don't have the ability to do all the scouting and things like that, so that allows them an opportunity to know that they have a place to hunt.
That's right.
All the more important that there's respect amongst hunters. There's a lot of pressure on that hunting. So somebody's, you know, shooting birds at 80 yards that are going to end up, you know, 20 yards into your decoys. Let them go, right? I mean, I think those are just the things. We want something so bad. There's a possibility we want something too much, and I think that's where some of those bad decisions get made. You just want it too much. So, you know, for me, you see birds working somebody's decoys. I like what you said. Just sit back and watch it. You know, next group comes, everybody's calling. They're gonna probably lock in on, you know, if their decoy go out there, they're gonna lock in on somebody else's spread or your spread. Let them come in. You know? But
Nobody
so,
wants to be second.
Nobody wants to be second. There's no ribbons for being second.
First to last, right?
Yeah, I get it. It's, you know, I think we could sit here and talk all day long, and I want to, but there's no simple fix here, right? So there's no one size fits all, but I do think it's just thinking. Put yourself in that other blind. How would you want to treat it?
That's it. That's
Heart
exactly.
change. Heart change. I'm thinking about the future instead of right here and now. It's tough.
It is hard.
It is really hard.
It is hard. Yeah, it's a selfless act, and I think there are things
As hard as
yeah.
duck hunting can be, as much work, time, money that goes in to getting on public land and getting after ducks. And it's real hard to put others before myself. Oh my
Yeah.
God. It's almost like I feel entitled to it. The universe doesn't owe me anything.
Yeah.
We've got to look at the bigger picture. You know, we had a conversation a year or so ago. Arkansas public land hunter comes in and talks about shooting a raft and how he grew up with his father and granddaddy. And back that generation just kind of sat on the outskirts of the duck raft up. And they'd get off the fly and everybody gets worked up, you know what I'm saying? Versus nowadays, they believe too many people want
Be in the middle.
run
of
up
it,
through the
right?
middle of it, bust them out, shoot the raft, and then wonder a few days later why the ducks ain't coming back.
Why you got no ducks?
It's kind of like shooting a roost. If you leave the roost alone, you have to field every day. You blow the roost up, they might go 50 miles, 100 miles,
Same
200
thing.
miles away.
Ducks have got to have somewhere on the landscape to not get shot all the time. You know, I think, you know, Jeff, you talk about being morally corrupt. I think it goes back to the sense of self, you know what I'm saying? We put so much into getting out there. You know, man, I mean, all of a sudden throttle back and not shoot at that duck, or, you know, not get the race, man. I mean, I never had a competitive bone in my body when I started hunting public land. And I like that competition. But we gotta draw a line, we gotta set things, we gotta have that. You know, in the deep south, yes ma'am, no ma'am, part of it. You're raised to say yes ma'am, no ma'am, and the thing about it is you say that to older folks to show respect. And what I've learned is people that don't have respect for others, what do they really lack? Self-respect. You know, and so if I'm disrespecting, I try to remind myself, if I'm disrespecting others, where's my self-respect? you talk about raising boys to be men, we need to teach them self-respect.
Yep.
You know, and that's how we three stay together.
There's more self-respect going in them doors than you're gonna find at any other event you can go to anywhere in the country. When you get a bunch of hunters together, you're gonna be dealing 90% of the people there are good people and respectful people.
Look out here on the floor.
That's what
I mean, can you imagine having a conflict with some of these people because it's dark, we're all hooded up and running to our duck holes?
Yeah,
It's the nicest people on
We
earth,
joke
duck
about
hunters are
that
in
after
these
every
events.
show. If we left this show and we're all at the boat ramp tomorrow
Oh,
morning,
yeah,
broken
every
weekend,
man for himself.
Well, how about if we handled it the same way we did at the double show?
Exactly.
Hey, Ramsey, how you been, buddy?
That's
It's
right.
good to see you. You know?
Yeah.
How big a difference would that make? Because like you said, there's no conflict out here.
No.
Everybody walk by, you shaking hands with everybody, you telling stories.
You talk about that when you leave, you know.
Oh.
But there's self-respect. That's where it's at though in our country. There's not a lot of these places left. You name any other group that you can get together other than duck hunters that you don't have. You can get a bunch of deer hunters together, you got a bunch of spotlighters also. I got news for you, that's the way it is. Or a bunch of outlaws, pig hunters, outlaws. But you get duck hunters together, you're getting together. I'm telling the truth. Nobody wants to say that, but that's the truth. And I got lots of guys and friends of mine that do it. But overall, when you get a bunch of duck hunters together, you got people that have a passion for something and they want to shoot ducks in the vehicles. They still want to do it and be nice to each other.
100%. Yeah, I tell people, you know, chase your limit, be proud of your limit, don't feel bad for your limit. I mean, that's what we're out there to harvest ducks and geese, waterfowl. And don't be ashamed of that. But I love focusing on the way we treat each other. And I really do. And I think that's, I was telling somebody, I said these expos feel kind of like my wedding in the sense that there's all these people that you know, over time have become an important part of my life. There's so many of us that I only get to spend 5 or 10 minutes with any one person. That's what my wedding felt like. It's like all these people don't get to spend enough time. So I love the camaraderie. Absolutely thank you guys all for coming in here, sitting down at the same table. This is a good game moment, really.
Good game.
GG.
Good game, man.
GG.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
I appreciate you having us here. I'd like to add one more thing.
Do it.
Man lacks self-respect, don't respect others. He's not respecting that resource. And that's where we're at. We got to respect that land and that resource. When you talk about solutions, I would encourage, Billy, that you threw some scripture out there. We were sitting there before the mic up talking. The love your neighbor is love. And throughout this whole conversation, I think Colossians 3, about midway through the chapter, where as people that God dearly loves and has set apart for His purpose, He says to clothe ourselves not just in optifade and bottom land, but in compassion and kindness and patience and gentleness. And you know, to bear with one another and forgive each other. If we've got to agree to forgive as He forgave us. And I think, man, if we go to the blind with those 2 verses in mind, the world might be a little bit better.
Might be a little better play. I appreciate it.
Well, it does kind of bring the attention off yourself, doesn't it? It really does. It's humbling. Well, gentlemen, I think if today's conversation inspires even a handful of our listeners to treat each other better, then I think we did our job. Really do.
Good job. Appreciate you being here. I appreciate you having me.
Well, it's, you know,
Yeah, on that side of the
Way too
football,
much.
aren't you?
it is funny. Well, we're all kind of on each other's. But no, I think that was funny. Like coming into this one, I'm like, geez, 6 podcasts. Is there enough air in the room? Turns out there was. I think we all modeled good behavior, gave each other a turn at the mic. John, although you got to send us off here. I think.
What do you
Hit us
want
with
to
some,
hear?
I don't know, hit us with some wisdom.
I'm just really proud to be amongst you guys. Like I said, I started podcasting because of these 2 guys right there. And the end of the line, Rocky, I mean, just inspired me. And we love it. We love where we live. We're proud where we live. We get a lot of flack being out in California, right? But it's just like anywhere else in this country. The cities aren't very good, but the country.
There's more rednecks in Northern California than there are in Mississippi.
I guarantee you.
That is the truth, yeah. It's a really beautiful place, sportsman's paradise. We got striper fishing, salmon fishing, bass, trout, turkey hunting, dove hunting, duck, geese. I mean, it's just a great place to live. I really love
I'll
it.
be there in like 2 weeks.
Are
Yeah.
you?
How's that sound?
Come on.
Everybody,
out.
everybody buy a license.
after that,
I'm not exaggerating. We got a lot of taxes and stuff, and a little hard to get ammo and guns once in a while, but I just love it, and I'll be the last guy there. I'm, a lot of people have Idaho, Texas, and ruin Jeff town.
In my town, I couldn't talk nothing. We got ducks, geese, rattlesnakes, dust, wind, no rain. California sounds like a whole lot better place to be other than politics.
Yeah, the politics of that, I just love it. I'm just so honored to be here with you guys. I was just kind of thankful for the dream come true. I barely know how to turn on my own podcast. I should know so guys like this. So.
There you go. Well, I think that's a proper send-up. I don't think anyone has beat it. So. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Y'all take care.